Welcome to Sonia Intimate Connections. Someone actually sent me this. The person who actually written this was Michelle Teheux, and she said we can learn a lot about sex from the Dutch. And here's what she said. She said Americans are hung up about sex because our real religion is capitalism. We are comfortable using sex to sell stuff, sex that is not in service to advertising, however, make us squirmish. This puts us in a dither when we have teenagers, but the Dutch have a better way and we should learn from them. I have always thought I was progressive. My mom told me precisely how babies were made at a young age, and I did the same with my children. I took it a few steps further too. I talk with my kids not once but many times, adding age-appropriate information as they mature. Sex ed starts at home. One day I told my son I need help piling up brushes and branches a storm had brought down. I can't, he claimed. I have to study. He probably thought that was an ironclad excuse. But I needed his muscles to help me move the heavy stuff, so I wasn't going to be deterred that easily. What subject? I asked him. Sex ed. Well, then come on outside. I'll tell you everything you need to know while we work. I invited you to imagine the misery my poor son endured helping his mom drag heavy branches while hearing a sturdy commentary about contraception. So moving on, the barrier methods, we have condoms, which are good because they can help prevent both disease and pregnancies. But we keep in mind that they won't always help you with herpes, because they don't cover everything down there, But still use them. Even if she says she's on the pill, always wear a condom. 2 methods are better than 1. The yard was cleaned up in record time, and to the best of my knowledge, my son has never impregnated anyone. The Dutch way. So I thought I was doing pretty well. I made it clear to both my children that if they needed my input or help when it came time to obtain contraception, they have only to ask. My husband is Dutch, and in a conversation with one of his relatives, I realized how backwards this approach is. We were discussing this philosophy, and I guess I thought my Dutch in-laws would recognize just how open-minded I am compared to my compatriots, but I was wrong. Her approach was different. The onus was not on her daughter to tell her she needs contraceptive, it was on her. It is my responsibility as her mother to make sure my daughter is protected, she said. Such a simple difference, but my mind was blown. Why would I wait for a teenager to have the talk with me? The Dutch are way ahead of us with sex education. The American way is to pretend nobody will have sex until they are married. We will seem to think if we teach them about healthy sexuality, they will immediately run out and have sex. So we do a lot of abstinence, only educate, which is probably why we are number 1 among developed nations for teenager pregnancies, sexually transmitted disease, USA. The Dutch, however, teach comprehensive sex education from an early age and generally become sexually active later than Americans. We ignore these facts because we do not like them. A shocking difference. In the U.S., teenagers usually have to sneak around to have sex. They have it in cars or in older friends' apartments, or they have to wait until their parents are gone. This is generally true even when the parents know their kids are sexually active. Everyone pretends it is not happening. This is not how it's done in the Netherlands. When my daughter was in college, for each visit home, I doubtfully set up an inflatable mattress in the living room for the person she's been dating for years and will eventually marry. I don't see why you don't just let them both sleep in her room, my practical Dutch husband said. He's my children's stepdad. I tried to explain why I will not do that, but I realized I cannot think of a single logical reason. My instance that the 2 of them sleeping apart at my house made absolutely no sense. College students are old enough to make their own decisions about such things. It was just an illogical cultural taboo, and it's one that the Dutch do not share. It was surprisingly difficult and uncomfortable for me to address my daughter and her then boyfriend and inform them that they could simply stay in her room together. Is it impossible for me to imagine? The very idea of asking my parents if my boyfriend could spend the night at our house or if I could spend the night at his was unthinkable. I did suggest once when I was engaged to my first husband that we be allowed to sleep in my bedroom. As I expected, my parents shot that idea down hard. Years ago, one of my colleagues said his parents would not allow his wife to sleep in his old bedroom with him even after they were married. My house, my rules, they were told. I absolutely cannot imagine having a boy sleeping in my room and then both of us joining my family at the breakfast table for pancakes. I was aware of a handful of instances in which a family allows their minor child to have a boyfriend or girlfriend sleep over, and it will always seem as, forgive me, low class, nice families didn't do that. They should, though. I could see many advantages to normalizing this for older teens and stable relationships. When do you think teens are more likely to use contraceptive? When they're in their own bedroom and have condoms in a drawer, or when they're apart in a car or drunk at a party and didn't anticipate sex happening? What effect does it have on a young person when they greet their partner's parents before going off to bed and know they will have breakfast with them the next morning? I bet you there's no respect. Sex at home is safer. Would you rather your teenager daughter have sex in a spare bedroom at a party with all kinds of intoxicated kids milling around the house, or in her own bedroom with her parents in the house? I stopped watching Euphoria after feeling triggered by the party scene. European kids usually learn how to drink responsibly by having wine with dinner at home, too. Their first experience with alcohol is usually not drinking excessively with equally inexperienced friends until they all throw up, but that is now it went with a lot of us here in the USA. This means American teenagers often end up in completely unsafe situations. Everyone's drinking, and many people have been drunken and unplanned, unprotected, and sometimes unwanted sex. The Dutch have lower rates of teen pregnancy. Guttamacher Institute figures show that teen pregnancy is much higher in the U.S., where we would just pretend young people will not have sex, than in the Netherlands, where it is understood they probably will. In the U.S., there are 15 abortions, 34 births, 8 miscarriages per 1,000 women ages 15 to 19, compared to the Netherlands, 7 abortions, 5 births, 2 miscarriages. Yes, Dutch teens have far fewer unintended pregnancies and less than half as many abortions. How could it be otherwise? We might think all the sex shaming we do in the U.S. will keep young people from having sex, but it clearly does not. It does, however, appear to be an effective method of increasing abortion and teen births. So if you like that, by all means, let's keep doing what we're doing. So the question is, does you agree with her? Does the Dutch have a better way of dealing with teenagers and sex? Thank you for sending this. No, I'm just kind of looking at what some people said. Someone said the Asian way is to pretend that no one will ever have sex, even after marriage. Another person respond, kids arrive either as gift from heaven or hell or as a result of dumpster for it. John said, my dad comes to visit me. No, my dad came to visit me several years after my mom died, and he brought his new girlfriend with him. They were both 78 years old. He sheepishly asked of me if it was okay if they slept in the same bed. I winked and told him to be sure to practice safe sex. Well, some people agree with this. Reading the comments, some people actually agree with it. And some people say, like a lot of cultures in the U.S., they want to ignore that teenagers are actually out here having sex. Y'all tell me what y'all thoughts on this. You can email me at sv766752@gmail.com. You can comment here. You can also go to my website, http://podcasting/wordpress.com. I'll put a poll on this one. Do you agree with the Dutch about sex and teenagers? Go to my website. Follow me on Instagram at son.ia9795. Sonia Santiago, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, TikTok. Oh, and everyone, thank y'all. Oh, I got so much love from y'all with the other podcasts. I'm so sorry that Spotify actually closed the polls, so y'all wasn't able to actually take the polls. And if you did, like some people told me they did, but they didn't put it up. It was like there was no numbers for it. And some people said they couldn't take it. I apologize for that, but I'm so glad y'all had a good time with it because I got so many emails and so many messages telling me how y'all really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate it. And again, y'all have a blessed night.